Are you ready to rumble? The month of March brings a lot of excitement for sports fans because it's March Madness. Today, we'll take a look at the athletic department here at MATC and all that it has to offer students. We'll also highlight the occupational therapy program, explore how sports intersect with student life, as well as ask the question, why do we care about sports? Plus, our field correspondent Tyler Eyerly visits the gym to see how spring training is going. Make sure your laces are tied because we're not slowing down on this episode of MATC Now. Hello again, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of MATC Now. I'm your host, Hannah Tahtinen. And today I'm joined in the studio by my co-host, sports broadcaster, and the voice of MATC Athletics, Don Wadowitz. Hey Don, thanks for joining us. Did you catch the game last night?
Thanks for having me, Hannah. A lot of great upsets in the first couple of rounds of the NCAA basketball tournament.
Awesome. Well, for our viewers, why don't you tell us, how did you get your start in sports broadcasting? And also, how did you get started here at MATC?
Sure. I originally started with my hometown football team, a volunteer team in Racine called the Racine Raiders. I really fell in love with broadcasting there. And from there, I picked up some high school games, and I eventually picked up doing Alverno Inferno games and came to MATC, just on suggestion of a friend. They wanted me to do public address announcing, and I said, I don't do public address announcing. I'm a play-by-play broadcaster, and they said, well, my significant other is a coach there, and he has already set up a tryout for you, so you need to go so that we don't look bad.
Right.
And so I went and tried out, and here I am.
Well, we are so glad to have you. Well, when an athlete gets injured, they may need help regaining their physical mobility. The occupational therapy program at MATC does more than injury recovery. It helps promote movement in daily activity with lifestyle improvements.
Motor skills are important to athletes for a variety of reasons, including passing touchdowns and shooting hoops. But first, let's take a look at one of the basketball coaches here at MATC and the inspiring journey she has gone on to be where she is today.
Brianna Valdez is MATC's women's basketball assistant coach and is somebody who has loved the game for a very long time.
I started playing basketball when I was 3 years old, and I played for the YMCA, and I never stopped playing, never put the ball down. I graduated high school and went to my first college where I actually played for Coach Erickson, and played for 2 years and then tore my ACL. And during that time, I was out for 6 months. And it was then that I realized, I need to get back. And that's when I transferred here to Milwaukee, and I played at Mount Mary University. And then I ended up graduating, and Coach Erickson had actually moved here to Milwaukee during that same year, and he offered me a position to be his assistant coach, and I had to take it because I couldn't give up on the game.
When it comes to coaching, there are different jobs between a head coach and an assistant coach.
I make sure that the scoreboard is kept, and then at the beginning of every practice we do post and guard work to help them work on their individual skills, and obviously the coach can't do both of those spots, so I usually work with the guards to help them better their skills. And then during the games, I write on a piece of paper how many timeouts we have and how many fouls each player has. And then I also am there to give coach a second opinion on the decisions he makes, or like if I think that there's a decision that needs to be made, then I will let him know.
COVID has definitely impacted sports, but Brianna and the team definitely made sure that they were still in shape for when the season would return.
We started having open gyms, but they were actually at Bradford Beach, and the girls were doing conditioning in the sand every day with their masks on. They really hated having to wear their masks, but you know, we just had to find a way to make things work with what we had. And then once the season started, we started practicing at Alverno. There was a lot that we had to figure out with like policies concerning COVID and how to make sure the athletes were safe and you know that the virus wouldn't spread.
As a basketball coach, Brianna has some great advice to help you become a better athlete.
You have to want it. You have to want it more than anyone else. If you look at the top NBA players, you know, LeBron, Kobe, Michael Jordan, all of them, they wanted it so bad that there was nothing stopping them. You have to overcome the insecurities. You have to accept like your weaknesses, and you have to specifically want to tackle your weaknesses in order to grow as an athlete.
MATC offers a wide variety of degrees, including occupational therapy, found in the M building. Occupational therapy assistants use activities to help people overcome certain difficulties in their life under the supervision of trained occupational therapists. With an occupational therapy degree, you will find opportunities at hospitals, rehabilitation centers, schools, and homes. This work includes working with people experiencing developmental issues, mental illness, physical disabilities, and disabilities related to aging. This program uses fun and exciting exploratory courses that count toward your credentials. Graduates with this degree will be able to take the National Certification Examination for Occupational Therapy, using goal-directed activities to prevent, lessen, or overcome certain difficulties. In addition to occupational therapy degree, you can also strive for a degree in physical therapy or a respiratory therapist degree in order to further your career, making a more diverse resume. When you graduate, you will be able to practice within the distinct role and responsibility of an occupational assistant. You will serve a diverse population in a variety of systems, value lifelong learning, and keep up with the best practices. Apply occupational therapy principles and intervention tools to achieve expected outcomes. To learn more, visit Guidance Counselor. For more information, visit matc.edu.
Due to coronavirus, the women's basketball season has been canceled. However, Brianna is optimistic and hopeful to continue working with players and other coaches in a sport that she loves. Although COVID-19 has put sports competitions on hold, MATC's athletics department has taken numerous precautions for athletes and staff, striving to create a safe environment for students to practice. Joining us now, we have Victoria Mejia, a student athlete herself who also works for the department. Hi, Victoria. Thanks for coming in.
Hi.
So to start us all off, you play volleyball, right?
Yes.
How many years have you been playing volleyball?
I want to say about 10 years now.
Awesome.
Can you tell me a little bit about your job with the athletics department? What are some of the things that you do?
Oh, yeah, of course. I work up in athletics. I'm kind of Randy's assistant in a way. I kind of just answer a lot of people's questions. If they come in the office, I guide them to where they need to be. A lot of the people that come into the office are looking for Randy, so of course I'm like, oh, his office is right there. Other than that, during the actual seasons post-COVID or pre-COVID, there was a lot of like paperwork that I had to sort through. So I did a lot of that. I answer the phone. It's pretty much kind of like secretary kind of things that I do, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, glad you're helping out in the department and working there. I want to talk about your role as a student athlete for a second. I know that volleyball especially requires a lot of communication, and I'm wondering whether the precautions that are necessary in the COVID area of wearing a mask, has that affected your gameplay or changed the sport?
Yes, it has, very much so. We didn't have a season this year, unfortunately, so in games, we didn't really have games, so it didn't really affect us. But during practice, it was very difficult to hear each other and be able to communicate with each other. There was a lot of incidents where we were saying something, but our coaches couldn't hear it, so we were then not punished, but we had to do what they call extra credit for us to speak louder. And I don't want to blame it on the masks because it also is us, but the masks really restrict us from communicating. So what we do instead is a lot of eye contact and a lot of hand movements, like, oh, I got it. And especially eye contact with like the setter and the hitters is how we kind of learned how to communicate.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work on top of also playing a sport and scoring points. Can you tell me a little bit about how else you have found balance between being a student athlete and competing and practicing and also your other obligations?
Yeah, so for a long time I struggled with time management, especially with working and being in school and playing a sport. It was difficult to manage my time. However, you adjust to what you do, and my saying really is if you don't have time for it, don't do it. For example, last year, my first year as a college student, I was working full-time, and I was in a sport full-time, and I was in school full-time. And my job, I don't want to say got in the way because it was how I was making money, but it wasn't as important to me as playing volleyball and going to school was. So I decided to cut that out of my life, and that's actually how I got the job here. And it was a lot more lenient, and I was able to do the things that I wanted to do before stepping out into the real world.
Right.
And besides the time management part, I feel like you just really need to plan out what you're doing and prioritize what you want to do, and you'll kind of figure out your way of doing it along the way.
Well, and you're definitely not on your own. I know that we've spoken before, and you've mentioned a lot about the support that you have from the department as well. And I'm feeling a little of that departmental support here in the studio here today. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Yeah, of course.
In the world of college athletics, March means that it's time for training and recruitment for spring sports. To learn more about MATC's softball team and what they have going on, our on-campus correspondent Tyler joins us live from MATC's gym. Hi Tyler, what's the scoop?
Thanks, Hannah. I'm here in the MATC Fitness Center located in the basement of the M building. I'm here with softball coach Terry Wagner. How are you today, Coach?
Good morning. Thank you for letting us get together for this.
Yeah, of course. It seems a lot of people don't know a lot about the athletics program here. How can non-athlete students get involved?
Well, one of the ways most of the athletes can get involved here is, number one, they've got an interest coming out of high school and going into college and that. And on the college application, there is a place that they can check on there when they register, check mark if they're interested in athletics and that. Also, they can go from there and go to the Stormers website. And on there, it will list all the different athletic programs that we offer here at MATC, who the head coaches are and everything else, and all their contact information, whether it be cell phones, emails, and everything else. Also, another one of the ways the younger kids can get involved in that is coaches are always out recruiting at a lot of the high school events around the area, around the state, and even in the Midwest. And that's where we talk to a lot of the players and start bringing in, telling them about MATC, what MATC has as far as a great academic education and along with the opportunity to play college sports.
What do you love about being a coach?
One of the coaches is just to see how the young adults just improve over the years and that stuff, and just different teaching moments that we can have with them, whether it be life skills, softball, or whatever it may be, helping them through different crises. because MATC has a huge diversity of different students, athletes, and everything else down here. So, I mean, there's no such thing that's the same ever.
What are the accomplishments you're most proud of here at MATC?
The accomplishments are many different levels. There's different things as far as athletes and students being able to get them through different classes and that, working with them on academics. Also, you know, family style, lifestyles come into play too on what they, you know, different things they've got to excel on. And then another thing is how well of an athlete they are. We've got a couple of our ladies that have graduated on after associate degree program, went on to NAIA schools and that stuff, and have scholarships there both academically and athletically. So there's a whole different variance of accomplishments.
How would you like to see the athletics department develop here at MATC?
I think right now it's got a great core operation. We've got a great athletic director, you know, and someone that really cares. I've had other athletic directors, but Randy Casey, our athletic director, he really cares about everybody here. And how it's going to grow is us getting the word out more that, yeah, MATC does have athletics along with a great academic opportunity. And some of the things that we do need to do eventually is we need to start in building on our athletic arena as far as what do we have, where the kids can work out and everything else. Right now we're in one of our workouts, but would we like to evolve? Would we like to have a permanent facility and a dome and everything else? Yeah, but that takes major sponsorship.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Terry. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me this tour. We hope to talk to you again soon. Now we're going to be throwing things back to my teammates in the studio. Back to you, Hannah.
Thanks for the tour, Tyler. If you're interested in playing a sport at MATC, check out the athletic department's website for sports offered and how to sign up. What many students may not know is that MATC offers sports scholarships to prospective tennis and basketball student athletes.
And before talking about basketball here at MATC, let's talk about March Madness. In America, the month of March means that sports are everywhere. While this is a favorite time of year for some, others may not see the appeal. The student producer Alex Mazurek attempts to figure out what the appeal of sports is to non-sports fans like himself.
I'm not really big on sports. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I have some strong hatred for them or something, but they just never really caught my interest. But in America, in the month of March, it can be really hard to avoid sports and their fans. So, what gives? What's the big deal about sports? There's no doubt that sports are popular, but just how popular? Well, here in America, the 2020 NFL Super Bowl averaged 102.1 million viewers, one of the most viewed programs of all time. On an international scale, the 2018 FIFA World Cup final averaged 517 million viewers. The COVID-19 pandemic has hurt viewership a bit, but in 2020, 27% of respondents said that they were watching sports at least once a week. Clearly, people love sports. So, what am I missing? First, I turn to history. After all, sports, like many other forms of expression or entertainment, have been around for a long time. Come on, man. The Olympics, which in 2018 garnered a cumulative 1.92 billion viewers, dates all the way back to 776 BC in ancient Greece. This is generally regarded as the introduction of formal sports into the world. Interestingly, the ancient Olympics were held every 4 years as a part of the festival meant to honor the gods. So it's probably fair to say that the motivation has changed a little bit over time, depending on who you ask. Other sports have similar origin stories, often starting as a means of killing time using crude, everyday objects. Basketball, for example, started by tossing a soccer ball into a peach crate. Eventually, that little game evolved into a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, is that all sports chalk up to? Just killing time? I find that unlikely. People don't spend hundreds of dollars on merch or season passes for killing time. So next we turn to science. Can psychology and sociology help give us more reason for the sports craze? Well, kind of. How do people do that? Research by Dr. Nicholas D. Theodorakis suggests that connections and relationships formed from being a sports fan can help satisfy a fundamental need to belong. This makes sense and helps to explain why people pin so much of their identity on their sports teams. Other researchers say that it's about the experience itself, not just the sport. In an article about sports fandom, Shirley Wang, writing for the Association of Psychological Science, points out the Chicago Cubs. At the time of the article, back in 2006, the Cubs hadn't won a World Series in nearly 100 years, and still, their fan base is huge. Professor Daniel Wan of Murray State University says that fans would cite the stadium, or the bleachers, or the communities as explanations of their loyalty to a historically lackluster team. Identity, nostalgia, community, these are all things that everyone understands.
We all have passions. Sports have been a part of human culture for thousands of years, helping people to bond and feel included, giving people a distraction from life, something to root for, to hope for. So hopefully, even if you're not a sports fan like myself, you can at least appreciate all that sports does for people. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really need to keep practicing.
Athletics at MATC helps students form a special relationship with the college because we're pretty much a commuter school, and when they have athletics, they come here. We have practices where they get to play with each other and push each other, challenge each other. But then there's lots of joking around and camaraderie. That's really important.
So men's and women's tennis, men's and women's basketball are the only scholarship sports right now. We have a total of 9 sports. Our goal as a department is to eventually take the rest of our sports to at least the Division II level.
4 years ago, we started organizing the team, and this is our 3rd season now actually playing matches with other schools. And so we're called a Division I program because we do give students scholarships, and the scholarships are usually 50% of their tuition.
Well, there are cases where, athletes reach out to us. They reach out to us to start that contact and say, Coach, here's my film. You want to review it and see if I'd be a good fit for your program? We do our due diligence that way as well. We've had guys that have walked on that didn't have a scholarship their first year, right? And then have earned that scholarship for the second year that they've been here. So there's a lot of different processes. It's not just one size fits all.
I've gone to matches and passed out leaflets, but I think really my best recruiting group is really the students who are already at MATC, just trying to helping to getting the word out somehow would really be awesome, because I think there's probably a lot of kids who are students here at MATC who meet eligibility requirements but aren't aware that we have a team.
It's just going to games. I mean, that's part of the recruiting process. My father found Polo at a tournament outside of Chicago, and then continued on going to his games in Chicago. CJ, his friend that went to the same high school, played for me last year, so that's how we got on him. So again, it's getting out, and it's all about relationships too. So your former athletes are your best recruiters.
Coach reached out to me. Well, it was really at the game, but that's when he started to reach out to me after the game. And I seen him, he introduced himself, and then I just started looking up the film and stuff, then it went on from there.
One of my friends, he went to my high school, he transferred in his sophomore year to MATC. So we would come watch his games and stuff, and that's when they were doing really good. So we would keep in touch with them. And then I had a high school game in Milwaukee. We played some Milwaukee team, close to 1125, Milwaukee Academy Science or something like that. So then we had a game there, and then I seen Coach, and he's familiar with me because I was at the game. I was watching the games, and I shook his hand, and then like he watched me play. They just called me and then they offered me on the phone.
Even if you're not athletic, you might as well get a scholarship because, you know, people be trying to pay off their debt to like education for a long time. Like, I was so relieved when I saw that there was a tennis team because I've been playing for like varsity for 4 years since high school. So I was like, yeah, that's a bet.
To me, the scholarship helps them maybe cut down on their work hours. They're students, plus they're part-time workers, and to ask them to be a tennis player as well, be a teammate, be a member of a team, is great. But you know, the financial part, you know, could keep them off the team. And so, you know, the scholarship that helps pay half of their tuition is just a way of encouraging them to come on out and be on a team. Cut down on your hours at work so you can play. You know, life is short. Your time in school is very short. And so make the most of it. You know, get on a team, feel the support that you get by being a team member and having, you know, a bunch of guys who are your buddies now for life. You know, and there's something special about being a teammate, you know, and it gives you a special feel for the MATC.
Sports are such a huge part of human culture. Why do you love sports, Don?
Kind of like Coach said there at the end, the part about being a teammate and the leadership skills that you can really build, the figuring out as a team, how do you compete? How do you really find the strengths in each individual to make your team the best that you can be? And then just to go out there and the competitive nature gets the juices flowing a little bit.
That's downright inspiring. Thanks, Don. Well, for those of us preparing for some basketball watching, we may need to refuel with some good food. Nachos are the ultimate finger food for any sporting event, so if you can't go to the stadium, have no fear. Chef James has a tasty treat to make sure your snack game for the big game is Major League.
Well, Hannah, today I'll be making a festive favorite, my special Chef James loaded taco nachos. These nachos are special for any occasion, really. Now let's start off with the ingredients, because we got a few. We've got a half a pound of ground beef, 1 packet of taco seasoning, a bag of corn tortilla chips, 1 block of your favorite cheese, mine's cheddar, some sliced jalapenos, a bag of chopped iceberg lettuce, a medium tomato, diced up, sliced black olives, green onions for garnish, a jar of taco sauce, sour cream for serving, and then some salt and pepper, which you'll add to the beef to taste. Then you're also going to need a baking pan, a frying pan, a slotted spoon, a cheese grater, and a knife. Now, the first thing you're going to need to do is start cooking your beef, which we've already done because it takes a little bit of time. You want to make sure that your beef is fully cooked through, totally brown, and you're also going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to taste for flavor. You always want to make sure it's fully cooked, so we started that ahead of time. Once it is cooked, you're going to add in taco seasoning and mix it together, and then once it is, it can sit here and chill out until we are ready to assemble the rest. Next step, you're going to want to arrange these corn tortilla chips on the baking sheet. You want to spread them out pretty evenly so that everything can cook and melt in the oven nicely. Once you have them spread out, you're going to add some taco sauce on top. You can drizzle that on. You can add as much or as little as you'd like. Then add the grated cheese. You also want to spread this evenly, just like the chips, so that it melts even and so you don't have pockets of like super thick pockets of cheese that don't melt all the way through, etc. Once you've got all that put together, you're going to move it and put it in the oven so the cheese can melt. We've got this over here. Now we've already got some in here because the cheese melting takes a couple minutes. Here we go. And once you've got these out, you're ready to start assembling. Now, the first step is keeping this here, and then you're going to take your meat that you cooked earlier, and using the slotted spoon, you're going to take some and just put it on top. You want to use a slotted spoon because it has holes so the meat, the juice from the taco from the meat, and the taco sauce doesn't get all over the chips and make them super soggy. You've got that there. Then it's time to just add toppings. We've already diced up our tomatoes and cut up the black olives and the jalapenos, so you can just assemble. I'm putting on gloves because if you're handling something like vegetables that you're not going to cook, you want to make sure you wear gloves. So here we go. And you can just put these on as generously as you'd like. It is totally up to you. This is a super versatile snack that you can put together for parties or get-togethers or any sort of thing that you really want to. It can even just be a snack for you to stretch over the weekend. Add in the lettuce. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure your ingredients are pretty fresh because that's important. You want to make sure you're getting the best ingredients you can. Here we go with our jalapenos. Now, and it's totally up to you if you want to make it spicier or less spicy. Again, it's a super, super customizable dish. There we got our black olives. Sprinkle these on top. Ooh, it's already smelling so good. And then our last two steps is adding our sour cream, which you can kind of just, you can try and spread it around, but if it kind of clumps up like sour cream tends to, you don't have to worry too much because nachos is really a grab and dip and kind of pull it apart dish. So we got that. And our last step is our green onion garnish. We just got the tops of the green onions that we cut, and we're gonna sprinkle those here on top. It's a super easy dish to make, really, and it's super versatile, which makes it nacho average party snack. But really, that's it. You're ready to eat these tasty loaded taco nachos ready for any event. Now, I'm gonna dig into these, but back to you guys in the studio.
What an impressive cheese pull. A great play by Chef James. Next up for the Stormers, Hannah will deliver important dates and information you need to know in our segment, the MATC Minute. There's 60 seconds on the clock. On your mark, get set, go.
Starting today, March 22nd, you can meet virtually with your Pathway Advisor to plan out your courses for the coming year. If you have questions in regards to your program, visit your Academic and Career Pathway Advisor for help. Looking for a way to pay for college? Scholarships are a great way to offset the cost of college, and in many cases, they go unused. Questions about scholarships can be directed to scholarships@matc.edu. The deadline for March scholarship is March 28th. Some students will be finishing up their degrees this semester, so now is the time to apply for graduation. Applications for graduation are due Wednesday, March 31st. And as a part of the ongoing celebration of Women's History Month on Tuesday, March 23rd from 11 till noon, you can listen to Colonel Adria Zucchero as she discusses her journey from command pilot to first female base commander.
Time. Wow, you're the Michael Phelps of newscasting. One of the reasons sports are enjoyed by many is the variety. Volleyball takes speed and precision. Ballet requires grace and strength. But skateboarding, you need a little balance and a whole lot of tenacity to be a skater. Student producer Bella Degner is still working on the balance, and she went down to Tosa Skate Park to share the story of a boy who exemplifies tenacity.
Hey there, I'm student producer Bella Degner, and this is another hidden geMKE. I'm at Tosa Skate Park at the corner of Menominee River and 70th, and it exists thanks to a group of kids called the Tosa Skateboarders United. The United in their name represents the goal to create a space that welcomes everyone, from newbie skaters and baby bikers to professional rollerbladers. One of the founding members was Jack Doyle, and his tenacity has pushed the park forward. On their first website, he wrote, "We want a skate park, but it will take years and take money." But Jack passed away at only 13. His parents took a few years, saved up some money, and then they proposed a challenge. If the city of Wauwatosa and the TSU would each donate $80,000 to fund the skate park, then so would Jack's family. And well, here we are. It took 2 more years of hard work, and then Tosa Skate Park officially opened in November 2015.
The park remains a place for kids and student producers to practice their passions. Signing off, I'm Bella Deckner, and this has been Hidden geMKE.
Would you look at the time? Looks like I'm going to need to beat the buzzer here. What'd you think, Don? Did we cover everything?
I think we are standing on top of the podium.
Well, in that case, stay safe, have fun, enjoy a little March Madness, and we'll catch you next time on MATC Now. I'm still Hannah Tahtinen, and boom goes the dynamite.